here. Today we are doing a live cooking demo, so I hope you're well aware that that's what we're doing today. We're not doing a dance class. We were practicing some moves before we, got this thing started, but that's not what we're doing. So we are here with Chef Erica, and I'm going to let her take over for a little bit.
Hello, everyone. I am Chef Erica, the executive chef for Skyterra Culinary. Welcome to our live nutrition class. So today we're going to be demoing one of Skyterra's most popular Mexican-inspired entrees, which is our Chipotle Lime Chicken, along with our black bean puree, our Poblano cream, our tomatillo and tomato pico, as well as our fresh guacamole. So excited you're here.
All right, so I'm going to go through just how this is going to really just flow today. Alan is filming. Thank you, Alan. I am going to be taking questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. I will be asking Erica any questions that you have that are definitely related to more of the cooking techniques, equipment, ingredients, and then anything more nutrition related, I'll take over. Rachel Colosino, our marketing director, is also going to be present. So we'll have a couple eyes on the questions. We're so excited. And this will last roughly 1 hour. 1 hour. Get ready.
So this is a big menu. So we're going to try to cover as much as we can today. And so for whatever we do not cover, we're going to speed it up and show the plating at the end. But just remember that our recipes are on Skyterra at home. So cool. Okay. So welcome again, everyone. So I just want to kind of explain what we have laid out right here. We have our seasonings and spices, garlic powder, onion powder, our chili powder, smoked paprika, cumin. We have our chipotle powder as well. So these are just our basic Mexican spices. We have cilantro, jalapenos, onions, and mixed garlic. So right now we're going to get started on our black bean puree. So if you're cooking with us, follow along. So what I have here is black beans in a can already cooked. Super easy. You can make the black beans from scratch using dry beans, but this is just a little bit faster. And if you're a beginner, you're going to want to start with your black beans in a can. Okay. So we're going to start by heating up our sauce pot for our beans. Don't need to get too crazy with the heat. Everything that we're going to be preparing today is going to be at a moderate heat. So, I'm going to add a little olive oil. What we generally use at Skyterra. Olive oil. Just let that heat up a little bit. I want to hear a nice little sizzle.
Love the sizzle.
Sizzle.
By the way, don't feel like you have to go and buy like 20 different kinds of oils. You're kind of wasting your money there. Now, if you really like different oils, go for it. But we really tend to lean towards pomace oil, olive oil, avocado oil is great, grapeseed oil, but really your pomace is a really nice option. It covers most bases. Yes.
Our onions, our garlic going first. Hear that sizzle? That's what we want to hear. Have some jalapenos. Little salt. Little black pepper. So we're going to saute this until the onions are translucent in color. Fancy way of saying clear. We're going to add a little bit of our seasonings to this as well. I like to add the seasoning all at the beginning just so it kind of infuses into the onions and the garlic. We're going to add our chili powder, smoked paprika. Bring this back over here.
So Erica, about how much of some of these components are you adding to start this black bean puree?
How much of the seasoning?
So how much, like,
It's about a tablespoon.
all right.
Tablespoon of each. But the great thing about powders, it doesn't have any salt content. So the more that you add, it's just more flavor. Then add some cumin.
We got a great question. A really easy one to answer. Please, are you in the new kitchen? Yes.
We are in Skyterra's new kitchen, culinary center. It's so spacious, it's beautiful, and it's still open. It's an open kitchen.
Pretty awesome.
So, our onions and our garlic look pretty good, and if you come closer, develop a little fond at the bottom, which is great. That's the liquid from the black beans is gonna pull all that up, and that's just flavor. We're gonna go ahead and add our black beans. Keep the liquid, always reserve the liquid.
So it smells really good in here. You can really smell the onion and the garlic coming through. I know personally, I'm sensitive to raw garlic. So when we're doing a lot of the recipes here, one thing I really appreciate is they will cook the garlic, they will cook the onion, and that tends to just keep it a little bit more mild, and it sweetens enough of it, so it's just not as harsh.
Yes.
But it smells amazing.
I like to add a little bit more seasoning once I add the beans. Give it a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper. And so once it comes up to a gentle boil, we're gonna reduce our heat to a simmer, covered. So we keep it covered because we don't want to lose all the moisture in the liquid. So we keep it covered, keep the moisture inside. If we just left it uncovered, most of the liquid would simmer out. So keep it covered, and we'll let that go. We'll kind of like let this go towards the end and kind of puree it last.
All right, I'll keep my eye on it. The other thing, this is a really high protein base to a dish, which is kind of nice. So a lot of bases to, I'd say, more of that Mexican cuisine. It's going to be a lot of rice, grains, corn, which is awesome. But this tends to bump up the protein content a little bit, which is great. It's going to keep us full a little bit longer. And the other piece that I know I appreciate, because we get people coming in with dairy, gluten. Now a lot of Mexican cuisine tends to be low on the gluten train, but everything you're making today, every single recipe is gluten-free and dairy-free.
Yes, absolutely. So while the beans are simmering, we're going to get started on our poblano cream preparation. So as you can see, I have a little baking sheet, parchment lined. I suggest if you don't have parchment paper at home to get it. It's great with cleanup. Nothing will stick to it. It's just great. So as you can see, I have whole poblano peppers laid out. I have a quarter of an onion, and I have a couple garlic cloves. So what we're going to do is we're going to drizzle this with a little bit of olive oil, and we're going to roast this in the oven.
That was probably about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. The recipe, I think, calls for 2 tablespoons.
A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. In the oven, 350 degrees. Depending on your oven, I would say 10 to 15 minutes. We want this to get really, really tender. After it comes out the oven, we'll let it cool, and then we'll scrape the seeds out of the peppers, and we'll make our poblano cream.
So you're saying you can make a sauce out of vegetables. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Oh, whoa.
Whoa, this is
So many ways.
This is just getting too healthy. This is getting too healthy.
Super simple. And of course, for our poblano cream, the cream factor, we have the coconut cream, coconut milk. So at Skyterra, we use a lot of coconut milk for our dairy-free option. So, okay, so next, we're gonna get started on our guacamole. I love guacamole, and so it's best to use avocados that are when you're thinking, you're thinking to yourself like, oh, this avocado is bad, but this is the perfect avocado for your guacamole. Soft, it's gonna be creamy, which is what we want. If you had a ripe, firm avocado, it's gonna be almost watery, it's gonna be chunky. We want a smooth and creamy guacamole. Okay, we'll start by halving our
It's always a surprise.
Take
You're
this
like, opening it up. Will you slow that down? Because some of our viewers, I feel like they never opened my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I usually take this out. I usually start with a knife. And if you got a pretty sharp knife, but if you don't, you can kind of go in it with the point and then just slice it in half like this.
Pretty nice too.
Right? And then you can take the seeds out. You can like scoop it out with a spoon. Me, I kind of take it out with my knife.
Wow. Those are really nice avocados.
Right? Perfect for guacamole.
Now, some of the avocados I've seen, the pit is much bigger than that. Is there something to be said about the kind of avocados you're using, or just
These are Haas avocados. But any avocado will work. So just be careful, like not to get the seed or not to get this part in your guacamole because it's not really pleasant to chew on.
probably can't really digest either?
Not at all. Okay.
Does anyone know? I'm gonna just ask our viewers.
Ask questions, guys.
Yeah, ask questions. But I'm gonna ask you all a question. And you can type it, type away or use your little fingers. So what would be the nutritional benefit, which there are numerous benefits of the avocado? I'm just gonna wait. I would love to
What
hear
is it? What is it, guys? Okay, so we're gonna throw the
Yes, Donna, Jody, healthy fat. So avocados are high in your monounsaturated fats, which are not your saturated fats that have been, especially if you consume really high volumes of saturated fats, then it's greater just correlations with heart disease. So this stuff, the fats that we're getting here are really healthy for us. Anything else? What color is it? It's green. Most things that are green, we can usually associate it with health and nutrition, unless it's like your green Skittles, then that just doesn't count. But green foods typically are higher in vitamin E, which is an antioxidant. These are also high in potassium, which is super helpful with blood pressure regulation. That's all I have to say. Oh, and fiber. Fiber.
Okay, let's talk about a little knife safety, little knife skills, real quick. So you always want to find a knife that's most comfortable for your hands. So I have kind of big hands, so a heavy handled knife, a 13-inch knife is perfect for me. But so when you're cutting an onion, the easiest way to cut this onion, if you're not really good at cutting onions, I would say to get a nice small dice, which is what we need for our guacamole, also for our tomatillo and tomato pico, just slice it down the middle.
So, last name Dawson, which can reduce your risk of heart disease. So I really love that you mentioned that because heart disease is pretty prevalent, and anything we can do to help prevent that is going to be a great thing. Making guac and just use one component that can just support that, especially when you're thinking about what things you want to add to your weekly menu rotation.
Our onions are diced, so I'm going to use half of the onions for our guacamole, and we also need some for our tomatillo and tomato pico. We're going to add in our onions, add some in here for our tomatillo and tomato pico. More. So that's that.
Are those locally purchased avocados?
Yes. So at Skyterra, we get all of our produce, including our fruits. We get it from Asheville Mountain Food Products. It all comes locally. So jalapenos are next. So the key, right? If you're not a fan of spicy, you take out the seeds and the insides. That's where all your spices and your peppers. We're gonna remove those.
I learned that the hard way.
Keep them if you want a little spice. I like a little spice. Not all of our guests like spicy. So just take those seeds out if you're concerned. So then we're gonna just julienne this. And so the jalapenos are also for the tomatillo and tomato pico, and also for our guacamole. We're just gonna dice this up really tiny.
So what's the difference between like mince, dice, chop?
So mince is very small, and so you have like your smaller dice things. So this is like a small dice. Mince is like the garlic, right? It's really tiny, very tiny pieces, right? Because if you have really big chunks of garlic, it takes a long time to soften. So we like to mince those type of vegetables. So this is a small dice. The medium dice, the onions are like a medium dice, and then the large dice, really big. So we're gonna add in half of our jalapenos.
So
and our jalapenos are
look at those knife skills. You are making it obviously look extremely easy.
Go as slow as you need to, especially if you're not comfortable handling a knife. But always, when you're holding your knife, even if this is just a basic kitchen knife, so this is the way you should hold your knife. If you're right-handed, you want to place your thumb at the base of the knife, and you want to place your index finger, fold it like this. This is where you have complete control of your knife. If you hold your knife by the handle like this, you don't have any control, and you just might, you might chop your finger off. So you want to have control of your knife. You have control of your knife, the handle is under your wrist. And this is the easiest way to learn, like a cradle, right? This is how you rock me to sleep, right? Yep. All right. That's how you want to handle your knife for beginners. Okay. So we're gonna take a look at our poblano peppers. Make sure that they're roasting nicely, and they are. So they're starting to blister.
Was that
which is what we want,
or was that 3?
This is 350.
Oh wow.
350. Nice golden brown. We want it to be nice and golden brown. Don't get scared and think, oh, it's burnt. That's more flavor. Nice and golden brown.
By the way, your oil helps prevent it from burning.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you add your oil. In the 80s, even in the 90s, I mean, fat was kind of just frowned upon, and using like a little spray here, it's just not going to do the same thing as actually adding the oil.
So our black beans are smelling good. They're looking good. They're at a nice, gentle simmer. Nice, gentle simmer. And what we're going to do is the last 10 minutes of cooking our black beans, we're going to take the lid off just to let some of that liquid reduce out of there, just so it won't be too runny after we puree.
It's smelling really good in here, guys.
Smelling good. Okay, so back to our guacamole. Lime juice, right? So the lime juice, the acid from the lime juice cooks the onions. So it doesn't have that raw onion taste to it. So you can add as much lime juice as you like. I add a good amount.
So I noticed you don't put tomatoes in your guacamole. I know this is a personal thing, so I would love to hear.
So tomatoes do not go in guacamole. That's just what it is, and that's what it is.
Got it.
I'm like,
is it because of the juice and the seeds? Like what?
It's just not traditionally in guacamole. Some people put it in there. I don't like it, but yes. So the juices and the acidity from the tomatoes makes it also makes it brown faster, but it makes it watery, right? Don't need it, doesn't go in there.
It's not as creamy then.
It's not. Okay, so we added our lime juice, we have our red onions, we have our jalapenos, our guacamole. So we got some fresh chopped cilantro. I love cilantro. I remember when I didn't like cilantro at some point, but now it's like one of my favorite herbs. Okay. So garlic powder.
I'm a cilantro addict.
I like that you got the garlic
I need
powder.
serious help.
Yeah.
Smiley
It's
face.
just too much. It's too much. That's exactly why we opt for garlic powder instead. Okay, so we need to add and then we'll go ahead and mix this up.
I'm noticing you're using a lot of similar spices and seasonings among all of the dishes, which I think is really nice for people watching because, I mean, a lot of this stuff is just crossing over very beautifully.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this.
So just to make cooking more simple, it's really easier if you have common prep items, like especially if you're a beginner in the kitchen. You just want to find something to make where you have a lot of the same similar prep. So this is why we kind of chose this recipe. So I like to use a whisk when I'm combining my guacamole. Kind of press it down, mash it up. You can use a fork, but like I said at the beginning, I like a creamy guacamole.
So
I don't like large chunks of avocado in my guacamole.
Yeah. So you're using like a whisk.
Using a whisk.
It's
a piano whisk.
A what whisk?
It's a piano whisk.
I've heard you talk about a balloon whisk.
Yes.
Where do these things come from? Like,
so
is it French?
It is French. So each whisk serves a purpose. So your balloon whisk, it incorporates air. Your piano whisk is for like thick soups, thick sauces, or for mashing guacamole.
I usually don't think of pianos with whisks, but
yeah,
I think
French whisk,
you know.
So many different types of whisks.
So just for everyone watching this, please ask questions.
Where are the questions?
I don't see them. We need them. If you're thinking them in your head, just type them out.
Type it.
Yeah.
Just type it.
There's no silly questions.
So look at this guacamole.
Super.
Right? Love it. Let's taste it, right? We gotta taste our food.
So about how long will this last? Like if I were to put this in the fridge, how would you store it? So I know we're gonna use some of it with today's meal, but I want to keep it for a couple days.
Okay. You can store it in a container such as this. I'm gonna put a thin piece of saran wrap on top. That also helps keep it from browning as fast. But over time, after 3 or 4 days, it's gonna brown, which doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the avocados oxidizing from the air. So yeah, just in a tight sealed container, a little saran wrap on top, you'll be good for the next 3 or 4 days. Amazing. Okay, so we're gonna put this in the cooler. We're gonna keep this cool. That is our guacamole. Anyone have any questions on the guacamole preparation? So we're gonna check on our Poblano peppers or onions. Should be almost there. Let's fill. So this is how we can tell. The pepper needs to be kind of soft to touch. If it's still firm, it's not quite ready. And it's soft, so it is definitely ready. Our onions look good, soft, tender. Our garlic is ready. So we're gonna take this off the oven and we're gonna just set it aside and let it cool for a little bit.
That's beautiful. Nothing's easier than just taking whole veggies and throwing them in the oven.
So another option, instead of roasting your vegetables, you can also boil all of this, right? If you don't want to go through the roasting process, you can boil it till it's tender, same process. Okay. So right now, I have our tomatillos and our cherry tomatoes quartered.
What's a tomatillo?
A tomatillo is a form of a tomato. It's very seedy, but it's very delicious. And it's really high in acidity. It's so good. And I love it when it's roasted. Okay. So, little olive oil drizzle. Ooh, not going crazy.
So,
A little salt and pepper.
We got a little nice comment here. Love avocado on Ezekiel bread. Great option. So another way to cross-utilize your guacamole, throw it on some bread in the morning, put a little egg on top, and you've got your breakfast.
At Skyterra, we serve the guacamole that was just prepared for our breakfast, for our toast. So when you come to visit, just know that you're getting that guacamole. Okay, so we're gonna with no tomatoes. So we're gonna roast our cherry tomatoes and our
So we got a little comment, and I'm digging it right now because I think it's, you know, it has nothing to do with what you're doing right now. It has everything to do with back there on that stove with the black beans. So Deidre, you made a comment. I always rinse my canned beans. Always rinse my canned beans. What should I add to replace instead of that bean liquid? But I want you to talk about that, why you reserve the liquid, and then I'll talk about the nutrition side of it too.
So you want to reserve your bean liquid because it's already flavored with the beans, and it already has that starch, which is going to help thicken the puree. If you drain and rinse your black beans, essentially you would have to add a water to your black beans, which isn't very tasteful, or a stock, which takes away from that bean flavor. So you just remember to always reserve the liquid from your canned black beans.
The other thing from a nutrition side, you may have always been told rinse your beans, which absolutely makes sense, especially if you just want to eat beans. The juice, bean juice, which just sounds kind of weird. Bean juice, once it's cooked, it helps get rid of anything that might disrupt the GI. If you're worried about the sodium content, that's where you can always season how you prefer. So recognizing that even though it's going to reserve some of that sodium as well, you can then tweak how much then goes into that final recipe. Oh, another great question. What is the difference between kosher salt and table salt?
So kosher salt is just a thicker, flakier type of salt, which dissolves fairly quickly. So if you can see, this is kosher salt. It's kind of flaky, and it dissolves much faster. So table salt works the same as kosher salt, except for the fact you really want to use table salt maybe for like if you're seasoning your plate or if you're baking. But you can definitely use table salt if that's what you have. It's just a flakier salt. Dissolves faster.
Cool. One more question, and then we'll let you continue on.
Ready?
All right. Mary, I couldn't find tomatillos local. Any substitute?
Hi, Mary. So glad you were here last week. You're so sweet. So tomatillos, you don't have to use tomatillos. You can use the heirloom tomato. I just love tomatillos. But you can use any tomato. You can even use a vine ripe tomato, a beefsteak tomato, or even a Roma tomato is really good, which is traditionally used for picos anyway. So I suggest if you can't find tomatillos, then just go ahead and make it a Roma tomato pico.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. As you can see, I took the lid off of our black beans. Of course, it's still at a simmer. Since we took the lid off, it's kind of going a little bit faster, but I want some of this liquid from the beans to kind of reduce down a little bit. But it's looking really, really good.
It's bubbling. Got the bubbles.
We're gonna taste this just to make sure that the seasonings, flavor is on point. Don't wait until the last minute to taste your food. Always taste during.
Oh, watch out for those babies.
It's good. We're gonna add a little bit more salt, because that's what it needs. A little bit more salt. Yep. That's good.
So I'm really sensitive. Some of you probably know this already. I'm sensitive to heat and spice. I appreciate it. Just know that this is actually pretty mild, which I know is friendly for me.
I love caliente. Okay, so we have our poblano peppers, our onions. It's kind of cooled down a little bit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take and peel the skin, peel all that skin off. You know why? Because it gets kind of chewy. It's not good. We don't want it. We don't need it.
Because it's weird.
It's weird. You can peel it off with your hands. So if you didn't roast this long enough, the skin will not pull off like this. So it's important that when you roast it, you're roasting the pepper until it's tender.
So I've seen people do this with like red peppers, you know, out of the are, like
Yeah.
red peppers, just the same.
Bell peppers, any pepper, if you're roasting them, same process. You have to peel that skin off.
That seems kind of therapeutic.
It is a little bit. It's kind of.
Or is it annoying? You know, there's some things in cooking that are just, you know, you gotta do them just because you gotta do them.
Right.
Like, there's nothing there's probably other things I don't like doing, but peeling garlic, don't like it. It's not fun.
I'm trying to think what I don't like doing. Cracking 50 eggs.
Yeah, it's like, you could easily just kind of let your mind escape, and before you know it, there's a little shell in there.
Right.
And then the hardest part is getting that dang little piece of shell, and you're sticking your finger in, and it's escaping you. We should have some videos on that. Some tricks on how to get shell out of it.
Oh, our tomatillos and our cherry tomatoes. Shape is still there, lightly roasted. So since this is a pico, we're gonna put it in the cooler to let this cool down. Ooh.
That seems like an important step.
Gonna do that like yes.
Yeah.
Very important. You have to let it cool.
So we got a question. This is from Rachel. And I'm gonna help answer this one. Does roasting the veggies remove any nutritional value? All right. So roasting really, there's probably going to be a little bit of loss, but some things that we want to think about when we're losing nutritional value is, one, how long have we had that vegetable, let's say, in the fridge? If we purchase broccoli on Sunday and then we use it not till Friday, we've already lost some nutritional value and there's been no cooking whatsoever. So freshness does matter. The other thing is if we, like this was only roasted for about 15, 20 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So not too long. If we would have kept this in there for a much longer time frame, we probably would have lost more just through kind of through evaporation. But the nice thing about roasting is you can also go one step. We didn't do it today just because it didn't require it, but our kitchen does a really great job of blanching vegetables so that they spend less time just total in heat. So heat can remove some of the nutritional value, but if you can cut back and find little shortcuts to spend less time, great.
So right now I'm taking the seeds out of our poblano peppers.
We want those seeds.
You don't want those seeds, but really with poblano peppers, you really don't have to worry about heat. Poblanos are a mild, smoky pepper, so you're not gonna get a lot of heat from it. You're gonna get a nice smoky flavor. You wanna take the seeds out. You don't want anything to be seedy. Just scrape it like this with your knife. You can use a butter knife if you don't feel comfortable with the kitchen knife.
Those look like green fish boys.
Oh, Lindsay. Okay. So now that that's done, this is where we take your high power blender. We use a Vitamix here at Skyterra. We're gonna add our poblano peppers. We're gonna add our roasted onions, our garlic cloves, some lime juice.
Do you recommend getting a blender like this for
Absolutely.
at home?
You can use it for sauces, soups,
I saw you make a veggie puree.
smoothies. Yes, so we use it a lot at Skyterra. We have a carrot puree, which is really, really popular amongst guests. Also our cauliflower purees. And I also use this when we make our cashew butter. It's really, really delicious. So yes, definitely get you a high-powered blender. Doesn't have to be Vitamix, but just make sure that it's high-powered. Will a Ninja bullet for something like this. A Ninja bullet will work for smoothies, but not something like this. We get a lot of those questions.
Would you recommend, I know a lot of our guests love the hike bites. Would you recommend this for the hike bite, or would there be like a better piece of equipment?
So with a high power blender, you need liquid to make it blend. So for your hike bites, you want to get a food processor, right? Which just has the big blade that goes round and round. Yep, definitely have to have liquid for this. So we're gonna add in our coconut milk.
And this would be like your canned coconut milk. Make sure you're buying like the plain coconut milk. Sometimes you can go to the store and all of a sudden you're picking up a different version. Also, get the full fat canned coconut milk. It is worth it.
So the lime juice is gonna help it blend also with the coconut milk. So we're gonna take this over here and we're gonna let this just blend until it's nice and green and creamy. Always start off with love. That's good. Just don't need it to be chunky. Want it to be nice and creamy, but we still see the pieces is nice and dark. So the poblano pepper ratio to cream, it has to be significant. So we don't want it to be too light. We want it to be a nice dark green color. We want to see the poblano really, really stand out. Okay.
So if I were to make this at home, could I like double the batch, freeze some?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Because you know, if I'm already gonna go through this process,
Okay.
all right, am I gonna die?
I hope not.
You know, we're taking one for the team today. We're gonna do it. I'll let you look first. You want me to look that?
You're not gonna die.
I'll take one for the team.
Okay.
I'll let you guys know what I think.
Good. You really taste the acid from the lime, the poblano. Poblano peppers, the reason why I like roasting it as opposed to boiling it, it really, really gets a nice creaminess about it.
You know, it's smoky.
Okay. Right? It's good.
I can see why it's gonna go with everything.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they're feeling it a little bit.
So we're gonna, so the poblano cream, serve this cool. It's not gonna be a hot sauce, it's gonna be a cool sauce.
I like that.
Cool. Okay, so we're gonna set this aside. It's gonna be for the final plating. So we're gonna check on our tomatillos and our tomatoes into the pool. Still intact. All right, so we're gonna add our tomatillos and our tomatoes to our chopped jalapenos and our red onion. Cilantro. Gotta have a good amount of cilantro in there. And of course, our lime juice. So you don't have to roast your tomatoes and tomatillos, but it just adds that great flavor to it.
Ooh, we might have to make an edit. Online, the recipe says coconut cream for the poblano cream sauce.
It is. Well, so it is the coconut cream, coconut milk and coconut cream, kind of the same thing. Okay. Just certain coconut milks have a higher coconut fat content in it. So you just want to make sure whatever coconut milk that you get for this recipe has a high coconut fat content in it.
Good to know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep the questions coming.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and just mix this up gently. Added a little salt, pepper in here. This is our tomatillo and tomato pico. Simple, delicious, fresh. We'll set this in here. We're ready to plate. Okay, so now, last but not least,
The chicken.
the chicken. I'm gonna show you how to make this chicken moist using my two-step cooking method. First, we're gonna start by heating up our saute pan. Moderate heat, we're gonna add a little bit of oil.
So Chef Erica, I hear this all the time from people at home. And it's like, the chicken, it's just so dry. What am I doing wrong?
So you're doing a couple things wrong.
All right. That's important.
One,
No one wants fried chicken.
yeah. One, you're overcooking it. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't take 30 minutes to cook the chicken all the way through. And also, once the chicken is finished cooking, if you're cutting into it immediately, all the juices are running out, and that's how it is to dry. You could be doing a couple things wrong. We're gonna take our chicken out. Those are kilo chicken breasts. They're cute. We're gonna bring our chicken over here. So these are 5 to 6 ounce portions of chicken breast. Skin off. With our same seasonings.
It looks like you trimmed it up a little bit.
Yes, just trim a little bit of the fat. Sometimes the roast really already comes from.
And it also doesn't look as wet.
I know. All right. So you want to make sure that you pat your chicken dry with a towel, a couple of paper towels, just because if it has a lot of water on it, when you go to put it on your pan, it's gonna splash up. We don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want that at all. So our same seasonings. We're gonna use to season our chicken breast. So make sure you season high. You season high, covers more surface area. Right? You season low, it's spotty. Season high. We're gonna add our Chipotle. Okay. Chili powder. No salt content in any of these powders. Just give it a nice little rub.
It's ready.
It's ready.
There might be
Always be careful not to cross these. That's
yeah.
why we prepare the chicken separately from our cooked veg.
So I noticed over here, it looks like you got some oil in the pan. It's heating up.
Going.
Get ready.
Get ready.
Is this about like a medium high heat?
You need to have it on a moderate heat.
All right. Season high.
Season high.
That's gonna probably help like blacken it up a little bit too, right?
Want it nice and dark. Nice and dark. Okay. Chicken breast is dry.
Oh,
Always lay your chicken away from you like this. That's what you want to hear, a little sizzle. A little sizzle.
but
Little sizzle. Now, once you lay your chicken down on your saute pan, don't touch it. When it's ready to be turned, it'll release from the pan itself. If you try to touch it right now, it's gonna pull, it's gonna tear. Just kind of let it naturally release itself. So, while that is going, we're gonna go ahead and puree your black beans.
you don't want to like flip it.
Don't agitate. Do not agitate your protein.
So like I can come over here and like flip it.
Just enjoy it. Just watch it. Enjoy it.
Like you would get mad if I put it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with the sear. So we sear to fill in the flavors. We sear to get that nice crust on that side. And we're gonna flip it and we're gonna finish it in the oven by our roasting process. So that's our two-step cooking method. A nice hard sear, and then we'll finish it by roasting it in the oven. Okay, so we're gonna take our black beans. Ready? See how when I took the lid off, a lot of that liquid that was in there evaporated? It's looking really good. So when I puree this, there's a bay leaf in here. You put any fresh herbs that have stems and cook it down, keep the stems in there, you puree it. It's more flavor. So I want you to check this out. You see how my chicken has release? It's moving on its own. I didn't have to agitate it, and that's what it does. So we'll go ahead and flip this over. Can I flip the other one? Yeah, you see that? Yeah, that's exactly how you want your chicken to look. That's pretty. It's a nice sear, a lot of flavor, a lot of seasoning. Okay, it's good. All right, so right now we'll turn off our heat. 350 degrees in the oven, 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how thick. But also, if you do not have, I always use my trusty thermometer. If you do not have one, go to the store and get one. This is also how you're gonna prevent your chicken from being dry and overcooked. 165 degrees at the thickest part of your chicken breast is turtle cooked. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven.
So this is like the two step.
This is the step. You start with a hard sear, and then we're gonna go straight to the roasting oven.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay, so our beans, we're gonna take it off the heat, give it a final stir. And we're gonna go ahead and puree this.
I'm gonna smell it. That smells good.
That's too hot for you yet?
You know, I've been subtly sweating, but it's not as bad as I thought.
If you hold your utensil underneath, it won't sweat.
Oh.
That's that. Now, since we already have our liquid in here, we don't need to add any more liquid. But if you do want it to be creamier, you can always add coconut milk. That's another thing you could add too. If you drain and rinse your beans, you could also cook it in coconut milk. That's that. So we're gonna go ahead and start assembling. Our chicken will be very, very, very loud.
I'm gonna give Erica mad props here. The presentation of the food at Skyterra is beautiful, and that is something that I would totally encourage you to try to do. I mean, I know I personally just kind of plot things down from time to time, and it does make a difference when, I mean, we eat with our eyes, so anytime you can add just some nice touches to your plate.
Right.
Funny story, we were gonna put the black bean puree, you know, just make sure the black bean puree available in Skyterra at home, but we thought maybe this wouldn't be as appealing to y'all. So
Right. So normally when we're portioning out food at Skyterra, we use portion food. Right? This is a 4 ounce. Today we're not gonna use that. We're not making plates. I'm gonna just start plating this. Now this is like have everything already set out. You're plating, this is where you get to kind of take the time to make it pretty. So this is about a 2 ounce spoon. The beans are hot. Oh, that's pretty. A little swoosh. Okay.
dig it.
a 1 ounce portion scoop. Guacamole, for this entree, we give about 2 ounces.
Mm-hmm. This is how we can also really make sure that we're giving individuals their nutritional needs, is we'll adjust things to each person. Now, a lot of folks are on a similar-ish plan. So for example, women, we tend to do 5 ounces, for men we do 7. There are certain standards that we follow. However, we do tweak things for certain individuals, and these scoops and measuring utensils allow us to do that really quickly. How did you learn all these amazing, like, the swoosh and the, like, how do you plate? Like, what do you do?
So when I was a cook, and we had a lot of downtime in the kitchen, and we had these tables, we would just put random sauces, and we would just practice different, like, so that's how I learned, like, you know, food art. Right, food art, yeah. And it just comes with a little experience.
Yeah.
Just treat plating like it's your canvas. Okay. Wow. So we're gonna turn our chicken.
Look at all these leftovers too. This is awesome.
Temp this.
I think it's been about like 5 minutes.
Been 5 minutes.
Maybe a little less.
Here's what it is. We've got about 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes.
What temperature was that?
The temp was at like 140.
Okay.
So we got a couple minutes. And our little garnishes here.
So the 140, how did you know that it needed like another 2 minutes? Like, what did that mean to you?
Because it's climbing, the temperature is climbing. If it was going down from 140, maybe a few more minutes, right?
Okay.
So it was a big piece of chicken breast. So just always tempt it. You know, at the end of that 5-minute mark, make sure you tempt it. If it's still kind of springy, you know it's not vegan.
Okay.
Okay.
We're waiting.
We're waiting.
Wow. Wow. So with these plates, what are some different options for people at home? Like, let's say, like you mentioned with tomatillas, you could totally do, you know, just all tomato.
Yeah.
The black bean puree, could you do like kidney beans or different beans?
Yeah,
Or
you can do kidney beans, you can do pinto beans. You can do any beans you want, right? Just all depends on your preference.
I like a corn puree.
Absolutely. And we do have a chocolate corn puree that's on our menu. Serve with blueberry if you want, but you definitely could.
All right.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Getting close.
Getting close. Not quite.
So is that an instant read thermometer?
This is an instant read. It's at 153, 155.
All right. Cool. It's exciting stuff. So I'm gonna check and see if there are any questions.
Any questions?
Ooh, will this recipe work with other proteins?
Absolutely. So we typically do it with the Chipotle Lime Chicken. You can do it with anything. The chicken was carne asada, a good plain steak. Use it with that. So absolutely. Absolutely. Even pork. A pork tenderloin.
Yeah, I can see this being really versatile.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's see. making me hungry. Pretty food, lovely presentation. I would love to see some questions come in because we're still waiting on the chicken chip right now. Keeping up with Erica is a whole new style of workout.
Keeping up with myself.
We did do some sled pushes before we got this started. It just kind of, I did. It just kind of amped us up a little bit. Alan went in there for a little bit. We had a good time. You know, it takes a lot to get ready for it all. We want to be on our prime. I think it's going to be, you know, oh, it's climbing.
It's climbing.
Part of the reason why we are not going to want to eat undercooked chicken is because salmonella. That's one thing we gotta watch out for. We're probably gonna get this wrapped up for y'all. You can kind of see what this plate looks like at the final. And we also want to show you our amazing, just new culinary demo space. Yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to show you that.
So once it comes out of the oven, it needs to rest. Like normally a couple minutes. We're gonna speed this up.
You ain't got no time for that. Maybe you are on your lunch break. You got places to go. Things to do.
I'm gonna cut this on a bias. It should be nice and white on the inside. Don't want to see any pink. Don't see any pink. Good. Awesome. Okay. So we're gonna put this in.
Shout out to Alan for the great filming. Hope one of those plates is from him. Well, you can bet the ranch on that, Amber, because Lindsay Ford will most likely be sweating her little, legs off if she were to consume all this. So he'll be fed. Ooh,
This is the hardest part.
Donna, will you do some more of these demos? This has been great. This has been great. You've been great.
Well, this is.
Isn't this space great? Ooh, I can hear myself. Very good.
So, protein side towards you. Oh, right.
That's beautiful. Awesome, awesome.
That is our Chipotle Lime Chicken with all the accompaniments. Thank you so much for joining us. Just remember that all of the recipes are on Skyterra at home. Purchase our cookbook on the website. Just remember that our next live nutrition class is with our executive director, Jeffrey Ford, on weight loss, September 24th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Yes.